Questions? Pretty simple. Simpler than Redux. I think
Slightly.
slightly. Yeah, just slightly. I think there are a lot of cases that Redux is way better than Recoil, but I think for simple applications like this, it's pretty straightforward to use it to do things this way. And it's really like you could use Recoil for two components and not use it for anything else. Like only the two components that you need to share state and nothing else. And you don't have to do this whole process of setting up a global store and doing your reducers and actions and stuff just to get that one effect that you want. So I
So
think it's
that root component,
yeah.
The root doesn't need to be at the root of the project.
No, you can put it anywhere as long as it's above the pieces that need to use Recoil.
Nearest common ancestor.
Yep. Yeah, basically. What I do think is an issue is if you were to directly just do like your parent siblings here, right? This, I believe, would cause a problem that Recoil wouldn't like pick it up properly because it needs to be around some sort of container that's containing the things.
Single source of truth.
Yeah.
How did you use Recoil in your Mod 5 project?
Yeah, in my Mod 5 project, so one thing that I think is really useful with this is with the way that routes work with React, a lot of the time your different pages will be siblings, right? Or things that you need will be siblings. But if you want to share the information between those two things, then using Recoil is great because you don't have to deal with hoisting up the state inside of your basically top of your application. You can just put it in the two pages that need to share the state, and then only those two pages will re-render whenever something changes. So, right, if you guys want to look, my thing's super messy, I think, at the moment. But I can show you what was going on in BIGO as long as there's no bugs that I don't remember.
It seems like Recoil solves the problem that Redux solved and also solves the problems that Redux created.
Yeah, pretty much. I really recommend going here and watching at least the first 15 minutes of this video where he talks about Recoil and what's going on up to the point where he gets to derive data and doing async functions and stuff like that, because most of that I think will be too, like you don't need to do that in most of the applications that you're building. You probably won't get to that level of complexity, but just the first like 15 minutes, he explains why it was created and what it does and how it does it differently than Redux and why it's kind of more efficient in a lot of ways and solves some problems.
Will you send us that link?
Yeah, I'll post everything there. I mean, you just go to Recoil, just type in Recoil.js in Google, and you'll find it. But
that graph thing between all the atoms and like, it looks like some kind of ancient rune. And then if you look at the cell he's frozen on, I believe he appears to be casting some kind of spell.
Most likely. I don't understand how he did this, how they made this project. It's pretty
probably
whack.
A wizard. He's got to be a wizard.
He looks like a wizard.
Props wizard.
Okay.
That would be props.wizard. Thank you.
Props.wizard.
Hack Mitchell.
Okay. All right. So in my application that I built, and I used Recoil in my Mod 5 project, don't worry about these. We have a lot of components, but in the app, right? You have a navigation container that I forgot about. So with the way that the React Native nav container works, right, it's very much like React routes. So you have to wrap everything in this nav container, and then you have these like basically different routes that point to different screens. So I have a my lists screen, like my list page that it has to go to, and a like view list page as well, right? And both of those need to know the information about the lists there. So if you look at view list, it's going to be wild. Oh my God. Okay. So view list is up here, right? I don't think I even needed this, but it knows the amount of items like that are in the list using recoil state, and so does right. So does the my list page knows the lists, right? And they share that. Do they share that? I don't know. They share stuff somehow. And because I changed a lot of this around, but especially when I was initially doing it, it was really helpful to have recoil to rely on. And one of the things is these, let's see, I think in here, oh my God, you have, where is it rendering?
Code's confusing when you don't look at it for a while, isn't it?
I know, right? You forget what's been going on, especially because I have all these like ternaries about what it actually is showing. Okay.
You have proven the point that ternary bad.
Yeah.
Or
Oh, here it
single
is.
ternary
Right.
bad.
So you got a my bag page, right? That is basically on like the same level. And the my bag page needs to know a lot of stuff. It needs to know the items like as well, right? And be able to update the items, because if you like take one off of the bag, it needs to go back into the list page, right? So right here, they both are sharing like the items and they both can update that. So in the like actual application, let's see if there's, I probably need to do expos, sorry.
I've got a quick question while everything's loading up.
Yeah.
When did ternary become bad?
Whatever
I was just
you
kidding.
start
It's not
using it
bad.
too much, it's just wild.
Okay.
All right.
I actually
I
love
think it's
ternary.
just when you pass it as when you're using it like inline in JSX, you can't find it easily.
Yeah.
Unless you're using multi-lines.
It's super hard to look at.
Yeah.
Truth.
Only nested ternaries are bad.
Also not true.
I hate them. Come on. You can do it. Maybe not.
Oh, and how did you get that little cell phone screen?
iOS
Is it an
simulator.
Ah.
Or emulate, yeah, exactly. See
Why
that?
is it an iPhone SE? Isn't that from like 40 years ago?
Yes, I didn't want to, I don't know. So you got an iOS simulator. You can download Android Studio and deal with that if you want. There's a lot of stuff. So if you're doing a React Native app, definitely look up Expo CLI. It is basically this whole thing that allows you to, you can even scan the QR code and have it on your actual device too. So you can test stuff out. And it's kind of just like a nice framework for building. Oh, it's taking much longer than it should for building a native app. Let's try it again.
Yeah, so is that only for React Native, or are you allowed to use other types of I guess native layers, interpreted layers on top of native code?
With Expo CLI, you mean?
Yeah.
I think it's only for React Native, but I'm not sure. I really don't know. You
Yeah.
can read, maybe. Command line, Expo tools. Sorry?
Being on Zoom might be killing your.
Yeah, it could be. I know, I definitely have done this before. But, I mean, one thing with, if we finally get back to, so this is ByGo, right? Nope, this is the normal thing. All right, so this stuff is ridiculous because I also got into like crunch mode and just started writing stuff out without worrying about how messy it is. So, yep. But you can see that I did use recoil state a lot to share like arrays of items, like which items are on a particular list. And I shared the list so that anytime any of my components updated that list, deleted it, or did anything like that, all of the other components would also know that that list was gone. One of the biggest things, if this works, which it looks like it's not, okay.
Just unplug it and plug it back in.
Yeah, that'd be great. Just to say, like, all you Mod 5 people, if you are crunching for getting all your stuff done, you definitely don't have to, stay in here and watch me struggle with this.
We have Alex at 3.
Okay.
Other than that,
Okay, so for example, like, see that the lists, whenever they're rendering on the my list page, they have the number of items that are in there, right? So I had to share that between the actual page that you're viewing the list on, where it has the number of items, right? It needs to know which list it is. It needs to know the number of items. And in the bag, the biggest one I think is between the bag and the list. Like, you have this tab that renders out the actual items that are in the list. So it needs to know that. And then the bag also needs to know on this page how many items are in that bag. And hopefully I go, nope. All right, you can delete stuff. Yeah, we get it. Cool. Okay, so if you click here, like, you can swipe left and put it back on the list, right? So I used recoil state so that whenever the bag updates the item, it will automatically update in the list part as well. Because what I did was I had a ternary, or not a ternary, I had a Boolean on each item that was whether it was in the bag or not, basically, whether it was checked off of the list. So whenever you swipe one left off of the list, it needs to set the items to find that one item and put the Boolean on it and change the Boolean to be the opposite, right?
So those are siblings then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome.
They're both, like, the list and the sibling and the bag are both siblings within the view list page, basically. So that's how I accomplished that. And you can do that. Also, it doesn't have to be shared between siblings. Like, for example, it's anywhere within the this, underneath this root. So you could, for example, say that I want all of the children to change when the container changes. So I want them to share that state. So now in the React application, whenever the maybe not. Container color. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Did I spell container right? Yeah. Huh.
What
That
did you
worked.
call it though?
What do you mean? What did I call it?
Are they
That's what happened.
You aren't running the server
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah. That makes sense. What the crap? Oh, also, this is a disaster. Antonio, I got so much respect for you right now. This shit's hard.
Why? What do you mean?
To try to be doing stuff in front of people.
Yeah, well, it's everyone's really good at typing and coding until someone else is watching, and then magically your skills evaporate.
Exactly.
I don't know if anyone's ever accused me of being good at typing. I don't know.
this is my favorite part is when it breaks while students are there because I'm like,
Mhm.
am I a worthy instructor? Do I still
Do I know
deserve
what
this
I'm
job?
doing? Come
It's
on.
the best part. This is what I'll give you a free secret. You know those times when I'm like coding away and stuff's happening, but I'm just endlessly asking you all questions?
You're just trying to
Stalling.
stall, yeah.
Stalling. Because I'm trying to fix the problem while keeping your learning going. And then I'll just ask really hard questions and you'll puzzle over it and I'll be like racking my brain like, why is this broken? That's a
Exactly.
pro tip for
But
you.
yeah, so like you can share the state anywhere within your component tree. So right now the child and the container are using the same state. So both of them can set the state and both of them can read the state. So you can do it anywhere. One other thing that is complicated, and you may not need it for any of the projects that you do, but you can basically write an atom as a function, which we'll say like set. I don't know exactly how to explain this, but I don't know. We'll call it, child color is equal to a function, right? And then this function is going to return an atom, right? Oh, the function needs to take like an ID, right? So it's going to return an atom where the key is equal to like child color, and then you can, oh, I need to do backticks.
I think it's really mad at you because you already have something called child color.
Yes, you are right. I'll just comment this out for a second. Right. So you can do something like this, right? Where the atom that's returned is abstracted. Well, that's fine. The atom that's returned is abstracted. So for example, say you are making an application where if you click one of these buttons, like click a parent and it will make more children, then you wouldn't know, and say maybe you don't want all the children to share the same color. You just want the first child created to share the child with, like, this parent's first child needs to be the same color as this parent's first child, and this parent's second child needs to be the same color as this parent's second child, right? Then you basically will have a child color for each of the different sets, right? So it'll be like child color 1, which is the first child color 2, which is the second child. So the way that you do this, you can basically abstract it to where no matter how many children you're creating, they each have a unique atom that they're subscribed to. Does that make sense? No. Great. It's something you kind of have to see, I think, a bit and play around with. Read the docs. Another thing is like with this is a little bit weird because one thing you have to do with this is called, at least for it to be the most efficient as possible, is called memoize, right? Memoizing, which is basically when you have a function and you know it may run multiple times, or you may run the function with the same argument multiple times, right? So for example, when you say, if you like create a new child, you're going to be passing it, this isn't making any sense. Child color, and you would like pass it the ID because child color is a function, right? So if you have this parent, which creates one child, so that's going to be child 1, right? And this parent, which creates child 1, the first child, you want them to share the same atom, right? You want them to change the same state. or share the same state. So here, if you know that whenever this function runs, when you create the first child over here, it's going to be ID1, right? And it's going to return an atom with that ID. And then when you click it over here and it creates another child, it's going to do the same thing. It's going to do a child with the ID of 1. So you don't want it to necessarily run the function again and create the atom again. You just want to reference the return value of the first time the function was run. And that's basically what memoizing is you have a function that may be run with the same argument multiple times. So you save the results of running the function with that argument, and you just reference that result anytime you run the function with that argument again, instead of actually computing it, right? Does that make sense? So if you do something like that where you're abstracting how you are naming these atoms, you have to memoize it, and there are libraries that let you do that. You just have to like Google that, figure that out. But most likely you won't have to do that in your applications. Cool. You guys finished? I'm finished.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Do you know, or have you used React's use memo?
No, I haven't. I just learned about memoizing yesterday, honestly.
Yeah, because React has that, and I'd be interested to see the differences in it if Recoil's memoize is specifically for Recoil.
Oh no, Recoil doesn't have a memoize like function. You would just have to figure it out, like use a different library to memoize a function or something like that.
Oh, then you could definitely
use
use memo. Cool.
Yeah, that's not something that's written into Recoil. It's just something that the creators are saying, like, look, if you do this, you need to somehow memoize this function.
Cool.
Yeah. All right.
Not to
All right, guys, I'm
confused,
going to let you go. Oh, sorry. What's up?
I was just going to say, memoize is not to be confused with the way toddlers pronounce memorize.
It almost is, though, because it's memorizing the results of the argument. It's kind of the same thing.
Mm-hmm. But you know, a lot of children don't pronounce their R's right, so when they say memorize, it comes out like memoize.
Memoize.
Good job, Robert.
Thanks. I tried. All right,
Thank you
guys.
so much.
Hope that it helps.